Welcome to episode 279 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Counterpoint edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. And as always, I'm with my co-host, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar. His name is Joshua Fine. What's going on, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Phil, of course. Glad to be back on the show here. A lot of things happening now here in NASCAR as we wind down the regular season and get ready for the Daytona playoff, final race in Daytona before the playoffs start. And Tate Fogelman, I guess, is back. We'll get to him later in the show.
Yeah, we're going to bring back the Tate Fogelman algorithm, of course, since it is a super speedway race. I joked around about Cody Ware winning this weekend and completely flipping the lid on the playoffs, similar to the guy that won on Saturday night at work, and there literally is a news story on motorsport.com about that, so wouldn't you know. Bald Spot Dylan repeats at Richmond. This time he didn't have to run over two people to do it. He pulled away on the final segment and led the second most laps in the whole entire race to get what probably might be his first actual earned victory of his career, which is crazy to think. For all the years he's been in the series, I think it's 11 or 12 years in the series at this point. We'll get into everything that happened in the Cookout 400 at Richmond along with Dylan. You had the 2311 guys who had fast race cars, won the stages, but didn't have anything to show for it. Penske struggled in qualifying to a point, but then came up. We have a little bit of intrigue on the points bubble, with RFK now on the outside looking in. We're going to go and also get into the truck series, which was essentially a two-driver race. It was Ty Majeski, the defending series champion, and the series dominator, Corey Heim. Heim was on pole, and Majeski went and passed him and won both stages. Should have won the race, but got wrecked by his teammate, Matt Crafton, and which in turn allowed Corey Heim to get a seventh win of the regular season here. So that's we'll see if the thing is not loading, but we'll get in all that with the truck series and who made the playoffs and who will be on the outside looking in. A few news items that we'll hit on in the world of NASCAR in all three series before NFL training camp, week 2 of the preseason. So essentially that dress rehearsal game of sorts, where a lot of the ones will play, or you would think the ones will play. The Niners were able to come through with a victory against the Raiders. Jake Moody not being absolute trash for once was nice. Then, of course, we'll get into and all the injuries that seem to be going on in the 49er land, which is regular. There's certain things you can bank on in the world of the 49ers, and one of those things is plenty of injuries. And Josh will talk about the Jags. We'll get into some fantasy talk. We didn't do our fantasy draft this past weekend due to plans or possible plans, logistics, and now it'll be in a couple of weeks. So more build up, a little bit more information that'll be readily available prior to getting to the regular season there. So we'll get into all of that. In the preseason, I just wanted to go and look at something there. Yeah, Jags tied. They're tied. Who did they tie?
They tied with the Saints
with the Saints on this past
Sunday.
weekend. Yeah, so we'll get in all that. The roundup, short and sweet. Moto 2 in Austria, and last week Hungary. This week NHRA was at Brainerd. Next to last race before their regular season ends. Of course, the regular season ends at the Big Go, the U.S. Nationals. IMSA GT will be at Virginia International Raceway this weekend. And Indy Next will be at the Milwaukee Mile, which will lead into IndyCar series racing at the Milwaukee Mile on Sunday afternoon. And then we'll make our picks and preview that race. The penultimate race in the IndyCar season. And then Cup and Xfinity at Daytona, preview picks, and the Tate Fulgham algorithm. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing and also in the new NASCAR 25 game on the sim segment. And then we will call it a day. But first, let us go into last weekend's Cookout 400 at Richmond International Raceway. For whatever reason, so that's what I had to do. So it was a race where, different, you had tire fall off in a night race at Richmond. Of course, the track's rougher, one of the rougher tracks on the circuit. It was hot during the day. We didn't see I guess during the practice we saw it was during the day on Friday, and there was a little bit of fall off. Of course, they had limited sets of tires, only 8 sets of tires on pit road, plus the one set that they started with, so 9 total, which is different from years gone by, which has led to unique strategies because of long green flag runs that seem to be a part of Richmond or Iowa or whatever, those kind of short tracks, bigger short tracks, splitting stages up to go and put fresh tires versus other drivers holding out to not take tires. An example of that was pole sitter Ryan Preece, who held out and stayed out for the whole first stage while other people pitted. Didn't work out for him in regards to the stage points. Then in stage 2, he was one of the first to pit. So it's interesting how that all worked out. And there was different strategies for different drivers. The 2311 guys were beneficiaries in Tyler Reddick in stage 1 getting the victory. And then in stage 2, Bubba Wallace getting the stage win. Bubba ended up leading the most laps in the race. And maximizing his points for as much as he could given where he ended up. But in the end, it was Bald Spot Dylan who led a couple of times early in the race, once early in the race, and then for about 50 laps, around lap 240, and then was able to basically lead the last 49 laps and 48 laps there at the end. And Richard Boswell now is 2 for 2 in cookout races, since he won the Cookout Southern 500 with Chase Briscoe last year. And now, basically a year later, in a must-win scenario, gets Austin Dillon across the line to a victory, and RCR actually will have representation in the playoff. Dylan had a good car. He actually drove well, for as crap as he might be or has been for most of his career. This probably is the best run he's ever had to win a race. There's been a lot of questions about most of his victories over time, whether it's running over two people like he did last year in this race, whether it's running over Eric Almirola at the Daytona 500, fuel mileage at Charlotte to win the 600, One Groove Racetrack at Texas, and Tyler Reddick being told not to pass him. So that's three of his previous wins, right? And then I'm trying to remember where else the guy's won in his career, but either way, for Austin Dillon, it's his 6th career Cup Series victory. 2 at Richmond now, of course, Daytona and Charlotte, as I mentioned. I still am trying to remember it, but I'll look it up in a minute. But for Dillon, Josh, a big deal for him, big deal for that organization. An organization that's definitely taken steps backward in recent years, and now will have a chance to run in the playoff and get a little extra attention to their organization. And Dillon, who I think is a much better business person than he is a race car driver, gets to show that he might still have some semblance of driving ability. He did on Saturday, that was for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think the races that he did win that you didn't mention there, Texas 2020, remember, on pit strategy there, and clean air, and then Daytona in 2022 when everybody crashed because of the rain, and he got out of there ahead of everybody. But yeah, other than that, this race Saturday, I mean, at first looked like it was going to be a Toyota day with Bubba Wallace there, but then they kind of took themselves out of it with that last pit stop that they had, or not last pit stop, but on pit stop with about 85 laps ago. They the wheel nut didn't get secured completely on, and then the wheel fell off almost immediately when they stopped or pulled off pit road, and then Chase Briscoe, once again, pit crew on there to save the day for a fellow Toyota teammate there. That's I guess penalty in practice by Wallace there, taking him out of the race there. And then on the restart before that pit cycle, Michael McDowell raced him pretty hard on the outside and kind of held him up there, and then that opened the door for Austin Dillon to go and run up front and everything. But then later on in that race, battle between Blaney and Austin Dillon, they battled side by side pretty good for about 10 or 15 laps there, and then finally Austin Dillon's able to pass him there as they're kind of going through traffic, and then from there is basically Austin Dillon's race to lose there, and then Blaney kind of mounted a charge there at the end, burned up his tires, and then Alex Bowman tried to get up there as well, but wasn't able to make it happen there. So now, Austin Dillon, worse in points than Shane Van Gisbergen is, goes out and wins a race here. Of course, now that puts Tyler Reddick and puts Alex Bowman on the line there. So there's now a scenario where, say a guy like Cody Ware, we talked about the show here, like Cody Ware wins the race and gets into the playoffs, which I don't know what would happen after that. But then, the possibility of, like Alex Bowman or Tyler Reddick somehow get caught up in the big one, and one of them, because they're close enough in on points where they could, one could swap positions with the other. Well, could end up with Tyler Reddick being bumped out of the playoffs, after what's been a fairly decent season, even though they haven't won. And same for Alex Bowman, who has the second most top tens in the series right now, behind Kyle Larson there. So yeah, that's kind of where things are right now here. I mean, yeah, if it weren't for the playoffs, yeah, it'd just be like a regular, guy that's, somehow just good at Richmond, like, Kyle Petty good at Rockingham, like you mentioned offline back in the day. Johnny Benson winning at the, also at the Rock, back in the day, for his first and only win, or, Greg Biffle winning at Daytona for his first win there, which was otherwise not a really great season there. So, if we went back to full season standings or, full season points, like none of these wins would, I mean, it would only matter for the driver. It wouldn't like shake up the rest of the field here. And, this motorsports elimination thing that we have going on right now. Now we have to be concerned about, a guy like Cody Ware, who, I mean, it probably wouldn't happen, but, there could be a scenario we saw last year with Harrison Burton, knocking out drivers out of the playoff, knocking out Bubba Wallace out of the playoff last year. So we're contributing to that there. So, that's kind of the focus there. And of course, people are talking about, oh, well, they stole a setup from JGR and everything and all that. And well, I think it just means more that, RCR's cars just aren't really that good. And if you actually give Austin Dillon a fairly decent race car, he can run well and everything. So, if he can go, if he were in a Gibbs car, he probably would run, top 10, top 15 every week. Probably, I mean, think he would certainly win more races than Ty Gibbs is winning. I mean, if you put him in the 54, he might be better. So, that's a hypothetical there. But, Bald Spot Dillon, of course, with now, we all know now he has some pretty good looking veneers there, which he's not the only guy that's got veneers. I noticed Kyle Larson also has veneers there. So, but really Austin Dillon, looking like horse teeth there as well. So, a lot of good action there with the soft tire there, kind of contributing to things. But it did seem like when you were on the same tire, it was kind of harder to pass if you were on the same tire, and then it really was a lot of just a lot of pit cycles there that kind of caused the variation there and restarts there with guys on different tire strategies and stuff. So it did make it interesting, but still got a little ways to go, but it's probably in the right direction there. So Richmond ended up being, of course, a lot of entertaining. I mean, at least this year we didn't see a late race caution, and Austin Dillon being kind of put in the deal that he was in last year and everything. So, of course, they knew the deal there, telling Jesse Love not to wreck or anything like that coming to the end there. So, it was, good race there at the end. And, they 3-car, I guess, now back in the playoffs, and guess now they've got all their, ducks in a row to try to get Kyle Busch in the playoffs here, because you got Austin Hill, I think, racing in the 33 this weekend here in Daytona. And, of course, Austin Dillon now in the playoff doesn't have to worry about getting in. So now he can go and try to, or the two of them can go and try to, team race and help Kyle Busch try to win the race to get him back into victory lane and get him into the Cup Series playoffs.
Which is entirely possible, since one of the things that Kyle Busch has done well since going over to RCR is run well at the super speedways. So that's something we could see. The results of the Cookout 400, Dillon is 6th win, 2 wins now at Richmond back-to-back, along with those 2 Daytona wins Josh mentioned, and Charlotte and Texas. Alex Bowman gains a bunch of points, finishes 2nd. Ryan Blaney in 3rd after starting 20th. Pizza Face 4th after starting tailback. Austin Cindric 13th to 5th. Larson 30th to 6th. Daniel Suarez, one of his better racetracks, of course, 21st to 7th. Josh Berry, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin your top 10. There were only 13 cars on the lead lap at the end of the race. William Byron finished 12th and won the regular season title, gets those 15 playoff points, which will be huge for him as we move towards the playoff. Chase Briscoe was the last car on the lead lap. SVG was the first car one lap down in 14th. We then go down a bit there, and then Darrell Walsh Jr. won stage 2, led the most laps, finished 28th though, because of that loose wheel right in front of his part-time teammate Corey Heim. Christopher Buescher ended up 30th, while his I mentioned Ryan Preece, who started on pole and led 60 laps, ended up 35th, just behind Tyler Reddick, who had won stage 1. Got wrecked in a 3-wide incident, which involved Suarez and Keebler Gibbs. And then Clyde was collateral in a multi-car incident that involved Briscoe, Kyle Busch, and Larson, a bunch of other people there too. So, there was only 5 caution flags, 3 for cause. And there wasn't a caution after stage 2, the end of stage 2. So they ran the last 160 laps under green. So that's rare. And so that's different than what we usually see in the Cup Series. The points as we move forward into Daytona, we have 14 winners. Right now, the points battle is Reddick is 29 points ahead of Alex Bowman for 15th. And after that, because of Dylan's win, you're going to have to win. Christopher Buescher now is 60 points behind the cut, so that has to win and goes back beyond that, of course, with Ryan Preece. Right now, we're talking about 7th and 9th in points. Possibility of one of those drivers not making it into the playoff. Of course, this has happened at Daytona. We had, I think it was 2018, 19, somewhere around there. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Blaney and it was Martin Truex Jr. and I think they were 4th and 5th in points, or 5th and 6th in points, or I think it's 22. It might have been 2022 actually, and they both got destroyed lap 3 of the race, or something like that. And then they had to do these crazy repairs, and Blaney was able to get enough repairs done on his car to stay in the playoff and make the playoff. And Martin Truex Jr., who was a top 5 in points, or just in the top 10 in points for sure, got knocked out and went from 5th or 6th to 17th because of what ended up being a total destruction derby where Austin Dillon won. So interesting how things come full circle that way. We'll just go back. In terms of top 5 finishes, that's you have Bowman right now is second or 4th. He's 5th in top 5s, and he's, in terms of top 10s, Josh mentioned he's tied for 2nd in top 10s. And then Buescher, just as another example, Buescher is second, 3rd, for 2nd and 4th or 4th. Tied for 7th in top 10s with Elliott and Briscoe. And then you look at, I'm trying to look for Tyler Reddick. he's had a quiet year, to be fair. I mean, he does have, he only has 5 top 5s and 9 top 10s. So it's interesting that he's been able to, he's had way better. I guess he's run a lot more laps, running at the finish in 24 of the 25 races. I think that also is a part of it. And lead lap finishes, so we will see what happens with that with the Cup Series, of course, at Daytona. We'll move over to the Truck Series, their last regular season race before moving towards the playoff, the Aero 250 at Richmond. I mentioned that race was essentially a 2-driver race, and it was. It was Ty Majeski who started second, led the most laps, won both stages, and then Corey Heim, who started on pole, finished third in both stages, led 75 laps, and ended up with the victory. Heim with his 18th win of his career. I think it's his 7th win of the season. Yeah, I believe that's what it is. 7th win of the season. I can go and count it off quick here. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, and he's won 3 of the last 4 races, as well, 2 on road courses. So, 7 wins on the year, 18 wins for his truck career, which is pretty heady company, I think he's getting into in terms of the all-time wins list within that series. Lane Riggs 3rd, Sammy Smith 4th, Corey LaJoie taking over the 77 truck for the rest of the season from 26th to 5th. Gio Ruggiero, who was sent tailback due to unapproved adjustments in his try to make the playoff, went from 35th to 6th. Jake Garcia 7th. Ben Rhodes, his teammate, 8th, the former multi-time champion of this series. And Chandler Smith 9th, and Caden Honeycutt in his first drive for the Halmar Friesen team finished 10th. Ankrum, Eckes driving for McAnally again, and then Grant Infinger. Those are basically all the drivers that kind of had stage points, and you had Carson Quapple making a rare start driving for Robaugh in a second Robaugh truck, finished 15th. You had everybody from, there's only 13 trucks on the lead lap at the end of that race. Hemrick had issues. You had Frankie Muniz had problems. Doesn't even have a listing of a status there. You have, the 2 other people there. You had Crafton, who was 3 laps down, but played a part in the end of the race. Nice Motorsports, which has been sold off now, and now they're going to be running 4 trucks for the rest of the year, but with various drivers, one of them being Andres Perez de Lara, Bailey Curry, and Matt Mills, and I think they'll have the 41 truck will be different drivers. That's Phil Gould's son, I think, was in it this past weekend. So, the real story was Ty Majeski dominated the race. I think he would have won this without getting run over by his teammate Matt Crafton. But Corey Heim, who didn't have as much luck earlier in the year, at times when he was dominating races, now has kind of been the beneficiary of some incidents and mistakes and stuff like that in recent races. And I mean, it's not like he didn't solidify what likely will be a championship 4 appearance, but he has so many points that he essentially could run 30th for, I think, at least the first round, and he'd still make it into the next round. And then probably would have to run about 20th, and then I think he still could make it to the final 4. But that's what you do when you win 7 times in the regular season. You get the playoff point bonus too for leading the point standings. You've earned that right. And now for Corey on, we don't know what his 2026 is going to look like, but he has as good of a shot as he's ever had to finally get that elusive Truck Series title.
Yeah, we say elusive like he's been fighting it for ages, but he's only been in the series for a couple of years now. But at the same time, he's a driver that probably should have more than not having any Truck Series titles, right now. So, he's definitely been a driver that's been deserving of a championship in this series with the amount of wins that he's had throughout his entire career so far, and just the way that he's been running in the Truck Series now has 50 playoff points. So I mean, we should expect him to make it to the championship 4 here in a couple months here. So just for Corey Heim, it's just a matter of actually winning the championship here at Phoenix. And of course, another point in the playoff discussion, of course, with him, having won all these races, being so far ahead in the point standings that he's I guess should be somebody that we talk about having a really dominant year, 191 points ahead, but now he's only 39 ahead of Lane Riggs, so still almost a full race ahead of third place there. So it shows the kind of the playoff format and everything, the flaws, but at the same time, he's had quite a season so far, and you just have to think that he'll just continue to have these strokes of luck here throughout the playoffs to I guess pad his lead as they go for the championship 4 there. So we'll just have to wait and see there. And then of course Ty Majeski, of course, on the other end of that stick here in this race, which got spun out by his teammate, and then yesterday they announced that Matt Crafton will be retiring from the Truck Series here at the end of the year, and Ty Majeski will be moving into that truck next year. So funny how that looked on Saturday or on Friday night there. So now he goes out. He hasn't done anything in quite a few years here in the Truck Series, and now he's going out here and retiring at the end of the year, and he'll go out and just have the rest of his life there, and Ty Majeski get in that 88 car and probably drive it to a couple of wins that it hasn't seen in quite a few years there. So there's not really too much else to say about this race other than, that's pretty much the only noteworthy incident in that race, kind of changing the trajectory there of the ending there. So we'll just have to wait and see, and Corey Heim, how he does here in the playoffs, and if he can come through with that first title here and add to his resume here, as we'll see if he goes into the Cup Series with 2311 in the lawsuit, or if he's going to have to be loaned out here until they can get things sorted out with the charters and the amount of cars that 2311 could have in a given year.
And that's something we're going to mention here shortly in regards to that whole lawsuit thing and what looks like Daytona trying to screw over 2311 and FRM by going and selling or expediting charters to other organizations that were willing to comply with their dictator-like contract. But yeah, I mean, for Corey Haim, 39-point lead going into the playoffs starting at Darlington, 65 playoff points, 7 race wins, 15 stage wins. Is insane. Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith are only separated by 7 points of teammates. Those are the guys that I think are the ones that could really could affect Corey Haim's chance, not because of pace, but because of just they've been able to go out there and get some victories. We have Daniel Hemrick, Tyler Ankrum, Ty Majeski, Grant Enfinger, Raja Caruth, Caden Honeycutt, and Jake Garcia, your top 10. So 2 Toyota drivers in this playoff, with Honeycutt driving for the Halmar Friesen team and Corey Haim. Then you have 4 Fords with the FRM teammates, and then Ankrum and Garcia. So then that leaves 4 Chevrolets: Hemrick, Ankrum, Enfinger, and Raja there. And this is for the driver's title, from Daniel Hemrick all the way back to Jake Garcia's only 9 points as we start this playoff. And if you go and add Lane Riggs, it's only 24 points separating second through 10th. So there is volatility there, opportunity for volatility, but based on how Lane Riggs has run this year, I kind of have a hard time believing that the bottom's going to fall out for him. Chandler Smith's run okay, so I mean, we'll see what happens. The first round, getting through Darlington, I think will be big. If one of these drivers that are not in the top 3 go out there and get a win, kind of turns the screws a little bit, but we'll see what happens with that. In the Owners' Championship, right now, so there's difference in points there. It looks like 19, 98, 9. No, okay. So yeah, the Spire number 7 will be in the owner playoff, along with so the Nice truck just missed out then. Yeah, so the 45, the 13, the 45, which was in play to possibly make the playoff, of course, letting go of Honeycutt, threw that out. And then the 13, which is in the Drivers' Championship, will not be in the Owners' Championship. So the 2 differences is there's only one, I guess, deviation in terms of the Spire number 7 is in in the 45 and the 13, so the 45 and the 13, the 45, which was going to be in the playoff, but and then the 13, which is in the Drivers' Championship, and then the 7 Spire truck. So we'll see who they put in. Of course, in their case, the points from 4th on back in the Owners' Championships, only 5 points separating those drivers, and then 21 points separating 2nd to 10th. So Owners' Championship, there's a little bit more drama there with that situation, but we will see. Okay, so yeah, let's get into some news items. Josh, there's the injunction, the latest preliminary injunction in the lawsuit between NASCAR and or 2311 Front Row and NASCAR, which there are many eager potential entrants. They're trying to sell the charters, which so now they're going and I guess the question would be with that, Josh. I mean, we've been talking about some of these teams. Of course, Rick Ware, who's in a lawsuit with Legacy in regards to one of their charters. TJ Pusher trying to buy Rick Ware Racing. So there's that. You have Legacy, who wants to get a third car. You have 2311, who is probably looking to expand to a fourth car. No, can they expand? No, they can't even expand to 4 cars, actually, because that's not allowed anymore. You can only run 3 cars full time, and you could run a 4th car as a part-time team. So that's interesting there. I caught myself on that because I was reading that with the the grandfathered in with Fat Felon's team and Gibbs, Reverend Gibbs' team. So you have RFK. I'm not sure what their situation is with the 60 charter. They're trying to probably get a permanent one there. And, it's like, I'm not really sure where NASCAR's these eager owners are in regards to this, but I find it convenient that a few weeks after they had made a provision and adjustment in the rule book, which was their cover to say that they weren't going to guarantee 2311 and Front Row Motorsports spots in the field, which there was a opening and there was a loophole where they could possibly miss races. Now they're saying that they want to sell the charters in a month from now to eager owners, when the reality of the world is the most eager owner is Dale Earnhardt Jr., and even he's not willing to pay the premium that it would cost to get into the series, let alone all the other conflicts of interest that would exist if he were to try and enter the Cup Series at this point, outside of taking over RCR perhaps. But what are your thoughts on this latest addition to this lawsuit, and who do you think is actually in play, if there is anyone in play?
Yeah, that's interesting because it's funny because NASCAR says there's no irreparable harm to the teams because they're running as open cars. Nobody's left the team yet, and there's no danger of them failing to qualify for a race. But then they're talking about selling the charters here in a month, and then they sell it to another team or eager owner. Doesn't that kind of prove their point that there could be harm to the team if they go and sell the charters and the charter teams bump out 2311 or FRM? I mean, that kind of feels like they're proving their case here and everything. So I don't know what NASCAR wants here. And this all just, I mean, to me, it all just seems like it's going to end up just being a mess and everything. And I mean, I kind of almost see it as kind of similar to how the lawsuit against the NFL went in the 80s with the USFL, where they technically won, but then they didn't really win anything, right? They only got like $1 or whatever from that, and then the league folded.
Orange got $1.
Yep. I mean, yeah, different case. I mean, all that stuff, but yeah, that was kind of they were technically right, but then they ended up folding anyways, right? But so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking that the judge was warning. There was a quote from a couple weeks ago or a month ago or two ago when the judge is basically like, you guys need to settle now because the ending of this is not going to be pretty or whatever, something like that. And yeah, that's kind of how I feel like this is going to end up turning out in a way. But I mean, as far as who's in play, I mean, yeah, Dale Jr. is obviously the one that would be one of those that could be in play. But I mean, even he's like still on the fence about actually owning a charter, right? They've not made any moves to field the car since then. I think if they were serious about getting on the grid for next year, they probably would have attempted at least a couple more races here, outside of the Daytona 500 here. So, obviously they're, maybe in play, I don't know. But then I think RFK is the other team because I think one of their charters is actually on loan from another team. So maybe they're trying to get a charter of their own that they can have outright there. So I guess, yeah, one of the FRM cars or charters that you just pick up and own outright or something like that. So yeah, and I guess maybe even Legacy with their separate charter lawsuit between them and Rick Ware Racing, they might be interested as well. So yeah, there's I don't know, there's a lot that could come out of this here, but I think NASCAR, of course, dropping this at the 11th hour to distract, and then now the schedule rumors are coming out here. So I mean, I still, yeah, I mean, I'm still hoping that this goes into December and we see all this play out, and we'll see what the court decides, and how each side can present their case and everything, and hopefully comes out as a good result here. But it's just just more, I think it's just NASCAR continuing to be ridiculous and try to continue to hold their bags and try to maintain order, when I think in reality I think they're kind of losing control of it. And I think 2311, I think their case is slowly being proven, but it's I still feel like I said, it's going to end up being a kind of an ugly ending here.
I mean, and the reality is you're fighting Michael Jordan, and a guy who's been a restaurateur or franchisee, and Bob Jenkins, who's been a guy who built a team that stunk and was a field filler for God knows how many years, and has built them up to be a reasonable team. And you have Denny Hamlin, who, of course, has come from nothing and, made something out of himself and is a Hall of Fame racing driver. So you're putting all those pieces in place against what has been a monopoly of sorts, even though they don't want to say they are. The way racetracks and the way some of these other people are, with ISC and SMI, just as an example, I mean, I think is proof positive of that too. So, I mean, Josh, the point you made about basically NASCAR making 2311's case for them at the moment is valid, because you're willing to harm the health of two organizations for what? For the notion of maybe, I guess, solidifying two other organizations. So you're cutting your nose to spite, I don't understand what the end game is with that. Really. and it's bad. I mean, it's just bad business. I'm not saying I'm some sort of business expert by any means. I give you more on that because of your experience and numbers and all that other stuff. But just with common sense, you're going to present to me both of these cases. No matter how many different ways NASCAR wants to stall and move it around and change, they're changing language in the rule book. They're saying, oh, we're not going to harm the team, but literally a month after you say you're not going to harm starting spots, you're saying to people that we want to sell these charters in another month. If you're going to be fair about it, or not, it's not even about being fair. If you're going to be logical about this, you don't put the you do not put those charters up in a in play at this point, unless you want more issues to come from it, which is exactly what they're doing right now, which is not a great look for them. What was once the NASCAR Busch Series, the NASCAR Late Model Sportsman Division, the NASCAR Nationwide Series, what has been the NASCAR Xfinity Series for the last few years, will now be the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series starting in 2026. The TMD was having a fun time with the jingle, using some lady in pain making weird noises, and as part of the O'Reilly. Won't be as fast as Xfinity 10G, so we won't get those corny inserts by every driver. But at least for the AAA series of NASCAR, arguably the best product that they have. It really isn't much of an argument. It is the best product they have at the moment. They're solidified at least for a few more years with sponsorship, at least a title sponsor. So that's good to see. And then, Josh, you mentioned it as well, with Ty Majeski will be taking over after 25 years for Matt Crafton driving in the truck series full time. And and then you consider 24 of those for Thor Sport as full-time driver. He drove, I think, in 1999, a couple of races, and then he ran the 1 year for KHI. But otherwise, he's been there for over 20 years, one of the longest partnerships in all of motorsport. Matt Crafton and Menards will end at the end of this year as a full-time driver. I'm sure because they run 4 trucks every race, that if Crafton wanted to run limited races, he could do that. And I'm sure that John Menard wouldn't have a problem coming up with some scheme, some business entity that he has in his stores to put on the car. You see it every week when they run a Menards car, that they have all these different partners anyway. So, and then you got Paul driving around in a Pittsburgh Paints Trans Am car, TA1. So, Ty Majeski, a Wisconsin guy, a Wisconsin company. So a great, a great match there. And an icon, what would be a number that is well known in the truck series and paint scheme in this series, will now be connected to one of the best drivers in this series, which I think is a net positive when you consider the amount of negatives that go on with the truck series, with the ride buyers that are in there and some of the lack of quality. You have Corey Heim basically destroying everyone on a weekly basis. There's not a lot of, and then the terrible announcing and presentation by Fox Sports. Having this kind of news, I think, is a good thing for the truck series. Solidifying one of the flagship vehicles of the series with one of their best drivers is a positive there. And so those are two of the news items. And then oh man, Cody Ware's driving in Arby's Jamocha Shake scheme. Oh, lovely. So when he goes but I have to say, at least an early favorite for the scheme of the weekend is Eric Jones running an STP car, which is a throwback to Richard Petty's 7th Daytona 500 win. I think that is an early favorite for the scheme of the weekend. So I finally got it. So this is the rumored schedule here. Daytona would still be on the weekend of President's Day weekend. They'll run Atlanta, then they would run COTA. The West Coast swing is 2 races. There's just Phoenix and Las Vegas. Darlington would be in the late March, so that'll be brutal. And then Martinsville the week after, Easter weekend off, Bristol, Kansas, Talladega, Texas. And then the first adjustment would be Watkins Glen, would be in May for whatever reason. And then the All-Star race would get moved to Dover. So, yet again, I don't know. We'll get into it. Nashville would be the 600, then Nashville, Michigan early June, Pocono in the second weekend of June, which was essentially where they used to be anyway, forever. One of their 2 races. Then the San Diego street race, I think is Father's Day weekend, and then Snoroma the week after. They'll run Chicagoland Speedway for the first time in a few years on July the 4th weekend. The second Atlanta race, they'll run Sunday the 19th of July at North Wilkesboro. So first race at North Wilkesboro, points race since 1997. So that'll be a new race, of course. In the place of Dover. Brickyard 400, and then on second off weekend, then they'd run the last 4 races of the regular season, 3 smaller tracks. You have Iowa, Richmond back to back, so that'd be interesting. New Hampshire, and then Daytona. So New Hampshire, instead of going back to like a July spot, would be deep in August, playing a role in the playoff, trying to decide the playoff there. Darlington, Gateway, Bristol, round 1 after the Daytona finale. Kansas, Las Vegas, and Charlotte, round 2, which I think is probably they would be better off if they had done Kansas and like Phoenix and Charlotte, or Kansas Talladega and Charlotte with Vegas in the next round. But instead they have Phoenix, Talladega, and Martinsville, and then Homestead, of course, to end the season. So that's the rumored schedule. I know we were talking about it, that it really, in terms of climate, general temperatures around that time of year, that moving races in the Northeast out to May, early May, is probably not the most ideal scenario. On a pot, if it's best case, you will have nice spring temperatures, and I don't think they're gonna generally have a problem with getting a turnout at Watkins Glen. Place is well loved, and they usually fill the place no matter what. Even if it's going to be much cooler this coming May, but they've had the race at Watkins Glen in August for 40 years, for the better part of 40 years, except for last year, of course, which was in September randomly. But I mean, I get NASCAR's whole thing now is like not giving a shit about date equity, but we don't need to have the roval. We don't, when the car races better on 1.5 mile racetracks. We don't need to have 2 races at Atlanta, no matter how much people think Atlanta is worthwhile with their goofiness with their track. We don't need 2 races at Kansas either. It's not the only reason they have 2 races at Kansas is because of the goddamn casino. You're taking away races from Northeast tracks. You're moving Watkins Glen from a perfect spot in the summer and in August to May, for no logical reason. And then taking Dover, which for years has been a challenging racetrack and has not been the greatest for racing. Over time, this car does not fit that track very well. And now your idea is we're going to go and run a all-star event at Dover. There's no lights, so there's that aspect of it. I mean, it's illogical that those changes. Fine, you wanted North Wilkesboro as a point state, make that the point state right there. Go and move the All-Star race to the summer and run it somewhere else. Run Dover. If you want to run Dover, run it in the middle of freaking July when it's hot as hell and that there's going to actually have to be tire fall off and for an all-star race, and make it like a summer shootout kind of thing. Get modifieds, do something, I don't know, supers, I don't know, like make a weekend out of it instead of whatever the hell this is supposed to be. And then I mean, other than that, and Texas sucks. It doesn't matter. You should just fill that place with water. Do us all a favor. They don't need 2 races at Darlington either. They don't need 2 races at Phoenix. A lot of these dumpy, tracks that ISC owns, they don't need 2 races, and they waste spots where you're going and gutting the Northeast in the process, and screwing them over, while the Southeast now is getting saturated again and they're becoming more regional, in a similar way as the IndyCar series basically is a Midwest series for the most part. We're getting more towards more majority Southeast tracks, which is understandable, but you're losing the plot in a sense of you're losing out on fan base up in the Northeast. You're losing out on fan base out in the Northwest by not having any real representation there.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I mean, this is rumored. I don't know if this isn't official by any means. It hasn't been posted in any of the main news locations, but um, I mean, what are your thoughts, Josh, on what is rumored to be the 2026 schedule? We'll say, at least for you, Homestead is back as a series finale. So that's a great weekend. You'll have a triple header weekend again to get the champions determined there. But what else? What are your thoughts on what it looks like, and what do you think is good and what do you think is bad?
I mean, I think it doesn't make. I was texting with Joe the other day about the All-Star race being at Dover, and I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's just completely unfathomable that you just. I mean, it's nothing against the racetrack itself. Running the event at that racetrack is just like, if you're having an all-star event, I just don't understand the location there, or anything like that. Like, I mean, why can't we just run the all-star race at Charlotte like we used to? You know, because that's where it actually races good, to have a all-star type event at Charlotte, right? But now we're gonna go run, just run on Dover, and that's the only race that's there, and it, they don't get a points race there, and all that. So yeah, I'm not completely understanding of that and everything there. But then also North Wilkesboro, while yeah, great that it's back. I mean, it's in the middle of July, which the infield on that asphalt, because there's no grass there to dissipate the heat. That's not. I mean, it might be good for racing, maybe, possibly, but I'm sure all the people there, it's not going to be a great time in the middle of July, unless they make it a primetime race, I guess. But even still, that's going to be a tough deal there in the middle of the infield there. And then, yeah, like you mentioned, Homestead. I mean, yeah, great. Homestead's back as the final race, like it should have been there. But then, yeah, I mean, to your point, why do we go to so many places twice? I mean, yeah, I would try to just cut the schedule until you got to 30 races, and just replace those 6 races with off weeks, and give these guys more than just two off weeks there that they have during the year. And some of this logistics, like round of 12, like Kansas, Vegas, like, why don't we just swap the Roval and Phoenix, right, and have the Roval or the Oval Charlotte to start off the round of 8, and have Phoenix be the end of for the round of 12, because that would just make a lot more sense travel wise there. And then even that, you could like flip Darlington and Bristol, possibly. Maybe they're too close together, I guess, but go Darlington, Bristol, and then Gateway, and then Kansas, Vegas, Phoenix, and then come back to North Carolina, come back to Martinsville and Talladega there, which then go to Homestead. Like, that makes a lot more sense logistically for the last 10 weeks of the year, right? Because then you have like a southern swing, and then you have go back out west, and then you go back kind of down south again and then eventually make your way to Florida there. So I mean, I don't know, that's my criticism there of that schedule and everything. And yeah, I agree with you, like, yeah, we don't need to go to Atlanta twice. I mean, dare I say, we don't need to go to Bristol twice there, because the spring race is kind of just doesn't matter anymore at this point. We probably don't even need to go to Las Vegas two times during the year either. We don't need to go to Talladega. I mean, I would just cut the spring Talladega race and just leave the one in the fall, right? I mean, yeah, I think the only tracks you probably are acceptable to go twice are Daytona and Charlotte there. So yeah, that's how I view it. And then yeah, we don't need to go to Kansas twice, I guess, even though Kansas does have good racing there. So yeah, I agree with there, and try to eliminate some of these double dates there, and everything, and then maybe you have better attendance overall at Kansas if there's only one event there, because that spring race was pretty pathetic in terms of crowd, from some points of view there. So yeah, and you don't have to go to Phoenix twice either. So yeah, I mean, try to get down to 30 races, and then yeah, get rid of the Charlotte Roval. Just go back to the oval there. I mean, yeah, I get going to San Diego, but I mean, we can honestly do without it. I mean, it's cool and everything. It'll be awesome as an event, but I mean, we don't really need to be going to there. Other than the sake of going there, like it, in terms of the schedule and everything, and road courses, like probably, I mean, to me, I think 4 to 5 road course events is okay, but I think we do have a little too much on the schedule right now in terms of road racing there. Although, as far as Watkins Glen goes, I guess the one angle there that you could maybe say might be good for the race itself is, depending on how cold it gets on Mother's Day in Watkins Glen, I don't know, maybe we have what we had at Bristol last year, with the tires lasting, and chunking basically the whole event. Maybe that happens at Watkins Glen, and we see the equivalent of that at Watkins Glen. So, which I guess maybe that makes it more entertaining after this year's Watkins Glen event not being all that entertaining here. Although I think that was just because SVG just dominated the hell out of that race. So, yeah, that's kind of my thought on the schedule and everything. So yeah, we'll see how next year goes and all that. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's okay as a schedule, but yeah, I think a lot of it, logistically doesn't make a lot of sense there, with the date switching and stuff. Like, yeah, Watkins Glen should just always be in August, right? Same as Pocono, Michigan should be in June, and Sonoma I think is okay. I mean, we talk about putting Sonoma when the grass is green in May, but I mean, I'm okay with it being in June because it's always been in June, right? So, yeah, that should just how it should just be. And then Chicagoland is back, so be interesting to see how the next gen races at Chicagoland, and how can the with all the tire wear and stuff, how that play a factor, and how that race looks like, with what we've seen from next gen racing on mile and a halfs and its history. So I guess that's a positive there. But yeah, there's some things like, and there's a lot of things to dislike with the schedule here, that's rumored to be released here, I guess the next couple days, and what is essentially the unofficial release coming out today.
Yeah, and we'll find out and let you know, and we'll discuss in more detail once it is confirmed, with the schedule for the Cup Series. And I mean, we talked about the Majeski Crafton thing. Fact, they get together, Crafton runs them over, and then 2 days later they're saying he's being put into retirement. It's funny how that worked. And then O'Reilly Auto's coming in at a time when they're talking about Advance having issues with their health as a company. You had AutoZone around, but as well. But yeah, O'Reilly, it seems like I guess they're growing more and they're expanding their reach, or they're trying to. So by going and being a national series sponsor, it's a big deal. And then when you consider they have the contract with the CW, with the Xfinity Series exclusive, and the broadcast that they put out there, and the broadcast production that they put out for a good amount of the year, is very high quality. So there is that. We'll move on to the NFL. this past week. Yeah, I mean, for the Niners, they played in Las Vegas. It was a lot of field goals, and I mean, there was for Brock Purdy, played a couple of drives and was getting the ball out to Ricky Pearsall, and he was also getting the ball out to, he was getting the ball out quick, and he was feeling good about his things, even though the offensive line is not like amazing, but get through. They get that victory. They were down 13-10 at the half, tied 13, and then three field goals in the fourth quarter to get the job done. There were no touchdowns after the second quarter. PD, those stats. So yeah, Mac Jones got hurt, but was 13 for 16 for $135 and a pick. Brock Purdy 5 for 7, 66 yards. And then Gus Bradley's kid is the third quarterback at the moment, or was this past week. Keyshawn Vaughn was the leading runner. Kiner, who I think got hurt, had a couple of runs there. Robbie Anderson had 92 yards on 5 receptions. Demarcus Robinson, 3 for 44. Ricky Pearsall, 3 for 42. No fumble, interception. They were able to intercept the Raiders twice. You had Martin with a sack and 2 TFLs. Lucas, Tayshaun Gibson. So 4 total sacks there by the Niners. It says 4, but I only count 3. So I don't know where they are making it. And then TFLs had 6 tackles for loss. Pass deflections, 3. So, I mean, defense played okay. Kick returns, whatever. Moody 5 for 6 with a long of 59. They didn't punt the whole entire game. Wow. Okay. All right. So, I mean, that's one piece of it. But then also in terms of the 49ers, the bigger problem is the injured list right now. So, I mean, Mark... 4 years or 4-0. That'd be nice if that was actually the case. Go over here trying to see. That's showing active. Yeah, so cut. Need to sort it. I want it sorted. Injured reserve. So yeah, Andre Dillard, Taron Jackson, Patrick Taylor now is on injured reserve, and then Trent Taylor. And and then they cut a few of those guys as well. So right now, yeah, I mean, that's where we stand. I mean, we're having issues with injuries. Seem to always have that problem, which disgusts me. How it always seems to be that way, but so that's I mean, with the Niners, you got this week they'll be playing the Chargers in Santa Clara Saturday night. there. So we'll see how that goes. There's a couple of Thursday night football games this week. Pittsburgh and Carolina on NFL Network. New England and the Giants on Prime. Friday night, Minnesota and Tennessee will be on CBS. And Atlanta and Dallas on NFL Network. Saturday afternoon, or there'll be a triple header on NFL Network. LA Rams in Cleveland, then Seattle at Green Bay, and then Jacksonville at Miami. And I'll throw to you, Josh, in regards to Jacksonville getting a tie with the New Orleans Saints last week. But what else shall we gather from what took place this past weekend for the Jaguars?
Yeah, last week, Sunday, Jaguars, Saints played, of course, tied, threw an interception there to end the game, which they were in field goal range because now the field goal target line's 70-yard field goal, and they had enough room for a 60-yard field goal or 59-yard field goal or something like that, and they threw an interception there. But I mean, I think it's probably just bad execution there. I don't think there's anything wrong with the play call itself, but of course, if you want to be conservative, you could have just ran the ball to set the run the ball to set the field or the ball spot position for the field goal unit to come out. But I mean, it is what it is there. So I mean, guess just a nitpick there on the play calling side. But the Jaguars offense, when they were out there, looked functional with Trevor Lawrence, so that's good considering some of the things that they struggled with. Third down with Doug Peterson. I had a couple of plays where they were able to get it to the tight end on third down and convert to get the first, pick up the chains there. Running the ball looked good. They had good offensive line push, opening holes for running backs, so look good there. The only real blemish was the fumble there in the red zone, which Trevor Lawrence got kind of tripped on as he was handing off the ball, and probably the best option there would have been just to fall on it. So that was a pretty good offense there. Defense looked better than the last game against the Steelers, so should be fine there. So then they also made a trade after the game. They traded for what's his name? He was on the Saints, and they traded for Luke Fartner, the Jaguars' former center, starting center in 2022 and 2023. They traded him to the Saints right after the game in exchange for defensive tackle Kalen Saunders, who of course notable for pulling an interception on Monday Night Football a couple years ago. So that was, get a guy like that that can intercept the ball in addition to being a defensive tackle. I guess that's pretty good there. So should be a good fit for Jacksonville. Obviously, they needed him. So now look forward to this last game here. See how some of the guys have been injured, of course. That includes Travis Hunter did not play on Sunday, so we'll see here on Saturday if he's able to go and play against the Dolphins, get in some more reps for him. We'll see if he has more opportunities on defense to play there, and as well as Tyson Campbell, who was held out of this game here, so on Sunday against the Saints. So things are looking good. We'll see how the roster looks like in a couple weeks, if they decide to make any more moves or anything like that. And I guess starting to get final touches here on what looks like will be the 2025 season here on the roster here for the Jags.
Yeah, and in terms of the fantasy football side of things, we're gonna move the draft back to Labor Day weekend due to some personal things for me, and also for some of the other members of the league it works out better. We were going to draft, and I was kind of wishing I was drafting on Sunday, to be fair. I was really bored on Sunday, but I guess it happened. It all happens for a reason. So we'll be done with the preseason, of course. There'll be a week of, I guess, practice or whatever, and then players or a few days left of practice after that, and then they will be sent on their way and get some time off before the regular season starts there. And so it'll be closer to the season starting, so might change some players that get drafted, or where certain players get drafted. Of course, injuries and all will also make play a part in that. And then I also, in the other two leagues, were in that dynasty, and that's a slow draft. So Vic kind of handles that because it's very. I don't have the bandwidth for the dynasty league, I guess, but I hired somebody that does, and he likes doing that. It gets him away from daddy duty in a sense. And in the Nipper Fantasy League, the one that I've won 4 times, that one will be on Labor Day Monday, that draft. So I'll have drafts back-to-back days. I'll be on, I don't know how much sleep when I'm drafting on Sunday, but we'll be there accordingly for that draft. We will move on to the roundup here. So Moto 2 raced this past weekend at the Red Fool Ring. And this week they'll be at Balaton Park in Hungary before they take a couple of weeks off and race in Catalonia. And they'll race back-to-back weeks, Catalonia and San Marino. The race and the results of the Austrian Grand Prix for Moto 2. Morera gets the victory and then follows that up. Diogo Morera, the Brazilian, and follows that up with the news that he's going to be moving up to MotoGP next year to race for the LCR Honda team. Holgado, Celestino Vietti, your podium. No points after the victory for Joe Roberts, not classified. And so unfortunate for him. Loses out on that. And then the standings now heading into the race in Hungary. Gonzalez, no point score. Now it becomes a 19-point lead for him over Aaron Canet. Morera's first point score, getting that victory in the last 3 races, moves to within 16 points of second. Roberts with no points there, 4 points behind his teammate in Marcos Ramirez for 10th, and then 14 points out of 8th, 20 out of 7th. So that's where that is at. The NHRA ran at Brainerd this past weekend, and trying to bring that up, Mission Foods Drag Racing Series, and the results there We'll go to... That's a 4 wide. So they do have a 4 wide national, and it'll be at Charlotte. So the in pro stock, it was Greg Anderson. He got the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge also, so good weekend for him. In funny car, Austin Prock won on Sunday. His teammate Jack Beckman won Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge. Then Doug Coletta in Top Fuel won on Sunday, but his teammate Sean Langdon won the Too Fast, Too Tasty challenge on Saturday. So the ladders for Top Fuel, Doug Coletta got a bye in the second round after beating Terry Totten in the first. Beats Billy Torrance, who had beaten Tony Stewart in the second round. And then Coletta gets Clay Millican, who smoked the tires on the hit, and 367, 338.77 miles an hour for Doug Coletta. Brittany Force lost to Clay Millican, who had a faster elapsed time and a little faster reaction time. Force had beaten Sean Langdon in the second round, actually. So there, Jordan Vandergriff coming back, driving the Sean Reed car, qualified third, lost in the second round. And then, Brittany Force had run 341.2 in the qualifying earlier in the weekend. Austin Prock beats J.R. Todd, who beat number one qualifier Jack Beckman in the semifinals. J.R. Todd also beat Ron Capps and Paul Lee. Austin Prock from the number 2 spot beat Jim Campbell, Matt Hagan, who blew up in the second round, Chad Green, and Chad Green, who beat his son Hunter, who was the number 3 qualifier. And then, Austin Prock gets the victory there. And then in pro stock car, Greg Anderson beats his teammate Dallas Glenn. What a shocker. Anderson beats Chris Vang, who red lit. Then Eric Latino, who's dead late. His business partner there, and Aaron Stanfield in the semifinals before beating Dallas Glenn in the final. Glenn, who was the number 2 qualifier, beat Fernando Quadra on a red light. Jed Coughlin also red lit. And then Glenn beats Eric Enders in a really tight race there in the semifinal. The standings heading into Indianapolis. Currently, it says Antron Brown has not clinched a spot. I think that has to be a misprint because Brittany Force only is 2 points ahead of him. But the top 5, it says, have clinched spots in the playoff at the moment. Sean Reed, of course, didn't run because of his injury, so I'm not sure how that all works. But so top 5, Langdon, Tony Stewart, 45 points back. Doug Coletta, 51 points back. So that's really where the championship battle is right there. The 2 Coletta cars, and then Tony. Justin Ashey, 133 points back. Force and Antron Brown a little further back, but then they get to zero out the points and get themselves right back into the mix. In funny car, Brock, Beckman, and Hagan are all locked in. Once you get into, I think, qualifying, Ron Capps, Paul Lee, J.R. Todd will probably be solid, and then you'll have a little bit more of a sweat out from Daniel Wilkerson on. Alexis DeJoria, Bob Tasca, Cruz Pendragon, and Chad Green are separated by 6 points, which is insane. So that'll be a interesting battle to look at. At the U.S. Nationals with 1.5 and those qualifying points and the like in 5 sessions. In Pro Stock Car, Dallas Glenn has a 9-point lead on Greg Anderson. Matt Hartford, Corey Reed, and Aaron Stanfield are all locked in to the playoff at the moment. And then from 6th on through 10th is separated by 130 points. So they can. Eric Enders is actually 70 points back out of the top 10. Troy Coughlin Jr. there, Mason McGahey. So I mean that's interesting. Eric Enders is probably gonna have to make a run and win another U.S. Nationals to make the playoff, like in the top 10 itself. And then Pro Stock Motorcycle, they'll be back at the U.S. Nationals. The top 6 are already in. Herrera, Gadsden, who's 70 points back. Matt Smith, John Hall, Angie Smith, Chase Van Zandt, Gianna Evaristo will probably get it there. And then Bostic, as well as Steve Johnson and Ingwerson. All right. IMSA will be back this week with their last sprint race of the week of the season. Go VIR could be key to GT Championship. The Michelin GT Challenge at entry list. No, that's LMP3. That's not what I want. VP Racing. Entry list. Michelin, Logan Sargent. Virginia is for racing lovers. Oh, so that's TCR and that's for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. 23 cars in the field for the Michelin GT Challenge. 10 in GT Pro. The 2 Paul Miller BMWs, the 2 Corvettes for Pratt Miller. The Pfaff Lamborghini, Vassar Sullivan Lexus, 2 Ford Mustangs for Multimatic, Theo Racing Porsche, and the Dragon Speed Ferrari. 13 GTD cars. There will be, 3 Ferraris with Triarci, Conquest, and Inception. Then you have one Lexus, a couple of Corvettes, the 36 of course with DXDT with Robert Wickens. You have and then the AWA Corvette as well. The couple of Mercedes, or one Mercedes, the Windward Racing Mercedes, the Gradient Ford, the Forte Racing Lambo, BMW for Turner, Porsche, or a couple of, Forte Racing, and then Wayne Taylor Racing also have Lambo, and then the Aston for Harder Racing, and Porsche for Wright Motorsports. There, to go back into the points, but this will be their last sprint race of the season before they run the 8 hours or 6 hours or whatever. I think it was the 8 hours at Indy. And then they'll run so event showing you're on pre. So that's not results already. God, this website blows. This website really sucks. Yeah, so the battle on the bricks 6-hour race, okay. Then in the middle of September, then Motul Petit Le Mans, 10 hours to end the season there. So this will be the last of the sprints. So we'll go with that. Go from there. PR1 Matheson will have Logan Sargent coming back to run the last 2 endurance races. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And we'll go to the Indy Next series. Dennis Hauger just has to kind of keep it on the map here these next 2 races, and he will be the champion. He's been really, really good all year, so it's not like it would be he's won 6 races, 6 poles, 10 top 5s, and 11 top 10s this season. Caio Collet has 1 more top 5, but half the number of wins and poles. Those 2 guys are the top 2 by far. Both of those guys come from the European Formula ladder, both Hauger and Collet. Lockie Hughes, the best of the rest after that, in 3rd, and Miles Rowe in 4th. Josh Pearson in 5th. The Rookie of the Year, Hauger's locked that up over Lockie Hughes. Murray, yeah, so that's what that is. So we'll see if Hauger can get that job done. I'm pretty sure he will. Now it's time to get into the Milwaukee Mile, one of the classic tracks, Josh, in IndyCar and in general. I picked first last week. At least I got the winner, but in trucks, didn't look like it would be, but in terms of IndyCar at Milwaukee Mile. Josh, you get first dibs here. Does Alex Palou add to his win total here in 2025, or will it be somebody else at this great legendary racetrack?
Yeah, I'm going to say that it will be somebody else, and I'm going to go with Pato O'Ward here this weekend to win at Milwaukee Mile. And then my wild card, Connor Daly, of course, had a good run here at this race, or in the second day of this race here last year.
And part of the reason why he is driving for Junko Songer is because of the result he had at Milwaukee last year for Connor Daly. So we'll see if he can replicate that result this weekend. For me, my choice to win the race this weekend will be, I'll go with Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon. There's really no other explanation. He's only had 1 win this year, so would be good for him to go out there and get another one before the year ends. my wild card choice, because what does he get to go? My wild card pick will be. I swear I've picked Newgarden, I think, as my wild card almost every race. Because he's had such a bad year. I mean, kind of is just sitting there, like they've had a bad year, but I figure at some point, the guy's a multi-time champion. He's won so much on ovals. One of these two races, it has to go well. Maybe it goes well at home at Nashville the following week, but I'm going to go with Joseph Newgarden as my wild card. So we'll say Scott Dixon to win and Joseph Newgarden wild card. NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona. The announcement was Connor Zilic is going to race, or at least, I guess, attempt to start the Wawa 250 presented by Coca-Cola, which is pretty insane to think. But then when Davey Allison had bad injuries and got back in the car like a week or two after, you have SVG talking about putting a plate after he broke his clavicle and raced the next week. I'm going to look through here. Yeah, Emmerling in the 07, Justin Haley in the 10, Eric Almirola in the 19. Roger Caruth will be in the 32 for Jordan Anderson. Mason Maggio in the 35 for Joey Gase. The number 5 was purchased. The Hour Motorsports points were purchased by Alpha Prime, so Cesar Baccarello will be in that vehicle. And Josh Williams will be back in an Alpha Prime car, the number 45. Joey Gase driving for himself in the 53. Leland Honeyman driving the 70 for Cope Family Racing. Logan Bearden trying to make the race with the 74. Kevin Cram, the crew chief. Then you have Natalie Decker making a return, first time since becoming a mother. Steve Addington, the crew chief there. Pat Tryson's crew chief for Matt DiBenedetto. Oh, that's interesting. All right, so those are the drivers. Because I refuse to pick him because he's a tool, I'm going to not pick Hank Hill. I'll pick Jesse Love. Because RCR are the best at the super speedways in the Xfinity series. My wild card pick will be Jeremy Clements because he's won there before and he needs a win. So if he wants to make the playoff, it's entirely possible for them if they give him if they can keep the car clean, of course. Josh, you can let us know your picks and also what Tate Fogelman tells you with the algorithm pick as well.
Yeah, I guess, for me, I just pick Austin Hill. Hate to pick him, but just go with him here, because who else would win here? It's either going to be him or Jesse Love, right? And wild card here at Daytona. Wild card here. Go with no. Let me see the standings before I make this pick here. Damn it. You go with Matt DiBenedetto. Why not? Here in the Xfinity Series. And then, of course, Tate Fogelman, the algorithm here on Google Sheets, says that Nick Sanchez will win the race here on Saturday or Friday night.
That's actually a good one. He won at Atlanta, the last drafting track. The 48 is a affiliate of RCR, right? I think the Borchetta team, what do they call themselves? Big Machine, is a RCR supplied teams. So that's actually a pretty solid pick there. So we'll see how that comes off. We'll go to the Cup Series, which is the Coke Zero Sugar 400. Saturday night, it'll be on regular NBC. 40 cars for 40 spots. Get into so then see something. Got Denny Hamlin will be driving a King's Hawaiian car this weekend. Barry and Dex Imaging, Columbia camo scheme for Bubba. Hank Hill will be driving the 33 for RCR. Merrick Jones is running that SDP car, as I mentioned. Joey Gase driving the 44 for NY Racing. Mentioned Cody Ware earlier. Casey Mears driving for Garage 66. BJ McLeod driving his own number 78. And so let's see. So Josh, you can make your regular pick here first, and then I'll make my pick, and then you can go and give the algorithm and lead into your sim segment in regards to Daytona, the wild card, the last regular season race of the Cup Series season here.
Yeah, I'm going to go pick Brad Keselowski here to win his way into the playoffs and eliminate either Alex Bowman or Tyler Reddick here. And then my wild card pick, I'm just going to pick Cody Ware here. And see, we're going to will this into existence. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it would be pretty god-awful. I have to go and look at the points now, out of curiosity. These PDFs are loading.
He's 36th in points right now.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's fucking terrible. He's always been terrible. He's just better at crashing. He's only 111 points ahead of Catherine Legg, and she's run 19 less races than him. So that's tells you a lot. There's a nice cluster there between Gagson, Custer, and Herbst. All of them once being connected, being SHR drivers. Custer only has one Cup win. Herbst and Gagson both are daddy's money ride buyers. No. I just don't see it. I think, you know what? Yeah, that'll be my wild card. Will be Cole Custer. I'll just do that. That's a first, picking the wild card before you pick the actual driver. My pick to win. You pick Brad. That's a good one. I will go with. You know what? The nostalgia got me. I'm gonna go with Eric Jones. Why not? It's an STP car at Daytona. It's Mr. The King's 43. He needs a win. They've been making progress. They run well on super speedways. Eric Jones has won this race before in the past. He's also won the Bud Shootout there in the past. So he's plenty capable. And of course, they're going to Darlington the following week, which he's won the Southern 500 twice. So, so Eric Jones is my pick for the win. And my wild card is Cole Custer. So we'll do that Jones boy to win and Cold Custard wild card. What does the Tate Fogelman algorithm tell us, Josh?
The algorithm says that Kyle Busch is going to win this race here. So
that's, you picked Kyle. You were talking about Kyle Busch earlier.
Yeah, I might need to make some adjustments here because now I'm starting to get a little worried that's knowing too much. That maybe not.
Because you're talking about, you had Sanchez who won the last drafting race. You have Kyle Busch, who since joining RCR a couple of years ago has been pretty good at these plate races. So would have to backdoor his way in. So we've picked all three examples of picked drivers I need to win to get in there. Josh, a lot going on in the world of iRacing and also NASCAR 25. Let us know what's going on. And
yeah, of course. We'll start off. Obviously, we'll start off with NASCAR 25. Of course, today they released some screenshots of the game, screenshots of Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and trucks, and the ARCA Menard Series here. Which, they look good. I mean, there's no gameplay clips yet. The game releasing a little over a month from now, October 14th here. So we've only gotten a couple of screenshots, and I think the only game video was the announcement with I think they had William Byron run or William Byron car run Bristol for a 2-second clip there. So official gameplay screenshots here. Xfinity running at Homestead, and it looks very similar to iRacing here, honestly. And you can tell it's not iRacing, but at least from the graphic engine, the track layout and everything, it looks very similar to what iRacing's latest scan was earlier this year. Looks like not Xfinity, but ARCA Menards at Watkins Glen, based on the way the cars are turning. You can see a clip of the not clip, but it's a piece of the curbing at Watkins Glen that looks like that. There, got the Cup Series at Charlotte here running there, the same iRacing skin, and then you've got the Truck Series at Texas here. So looking forward to seeing how this game plays out, and hopefully it's really good and everything, and all that, because obviously we really need to have a good NASCAR game here in consoles and stuff like that. So hoping that it comes out and is actually a good game there. So again, October 14th, NASCAR 25 available there hopefully. So, yeah, NASCAR 25, and then of course, the iRacing also announced that they're releasing a new game called iRacing Arcade here on, I guess, going to be on Steam first and then console next year. It looks like a very kid-oriented game, similar to this, I guess, this game called Circuit Showdown, I think. Very arcade-like there, but it looks like it's going to have GT3s and Monza and Mexico City, looking like it's gonna have like a Porsche 911 GT3. So yeah, that should be kind of interesting to see that. Let me see here. iRacing, yeah, let me look at that. Community highlights. No, that's not what I want. New, yeah, the iRacing arcade game. I mean, looks like it should be interesting here. You know, hopefully it is, and we can, you know, have a good kind of like fun game to have without you know, people who maybe don't have the sim equipment but want to play like a fun kind of game that's like kind of similar to, I guess, I don't want to say Mario Kart, but you know, something on that level. Karting Superstars, yeah, that's what it was called. So looks like some people are pretty interested about it. So yeah, looks like it's just the same developer as this game called Karting Superstars and Circuit Superstars, but iRacing's publishing it, and they're giving licensing assets with the cars and tracks. So that should be interesting as well. The Steam game, it released later this year, and then in the fall, and then consoles in the spring or sometime next year. So yeah, should be looking forward to that as well. And of course, regular iRacing stuff here. NASCAR iRacing series at Daytona, fixed and open all week, throughout the week on there, of course. And then yeah, Xfinity as well, racing there at Daytona. And then you've got Truck Series racing at Milwaukee Mile this week. ARCA Menards at Iowa this week. The Indy cars also at Milwaukee Mile this weekend. Here, the Indy Fixed Oval Series actually running at Kentucky. I don't know why they wouldn't put it at Milwaukee Mile, but anyway, yeah, I've got that. Gen 4 Cup at Michigan. Then the, let's see, 87, that's the other series. Where is that at? At New Hampshire. There. MX5, Virginia International Raceway, Toyota GR Cup, Mugello, Production Car Sim Challenge at the Auto Club Speedway Road Course. May that track rest in peace. TCR Sports Car Challenge at VIR, also Michelin Pilot Challenge at VIR. So obviously mirroring the real life IMSA schedule here at VIR. GT3 Challenge at Silverstone, GTE Sprint Series at Road America, Global Endurance Tour at Virginia International Raceway, IMSA iRacing Series at VIR also here. So yeah, I mean, this very heavy on the sports car side this week at VIR, obviously with IMSA racing at VIR this weekend. So looking forward to that. Formula 1600 on the open wheel side at Okayama, US Open Wheel Series at the Milwaukee Mile. So I think all the US based open wheel series are all at Milwaukee Mile here. Formula Ford, or no, F4 at VIR also. IndyCar Racing Series at Milwaukee Mile. Formula C, Dallara F3 at Suzuka here. US Open Wheel at Milwaukee Mile. So yeah, a lot of VIR stuff, of course. Daytona, Milwaukee Mile here this week with basically all those U.S. series, all racing at those 3 tracks mostly. So, definitely be able to get on there, stream that, or stream a Daytona race or two, something like that. More than likely, there in terms of news on iRacing for other than NASCAR 25 and the new arcade game that they're releasing this week in iRacing. There's not really much other news than that. So, of course, got all of that. Of course, Twitch stream whenever I do. Of course, the Daytona, if I decide to do that, at uSailor2 on Twitch, and go on there and watch that, of course. And then, of course, the Twitter page at JP Helfine, and then, of course, our YouTube page for this show at Group Share Podcasts on YouTube. So go on there and look at that. So, looking forward to Daytona this week. At the end of the week, I haven't decided if I'm actually going to go. Of note, every race that I've been to in the next gen era, there was a flip. So I don't know, maybe I should stay home this time, and maybe there won't be a flip. So we'll see how that goes on Saturday here at Daytona. So looking forward to that, and last regular season race, and then begin playoff time here in the Cup Series and Xfinity soon.
Yeah, we're getting there, and then of course Darlington to start the playoff, of course, for NASCAR, at least for Cup and trucks. Xfinity's got a couple more weeks to go. You can find me at Gripstrip. You can find us at the Gripstrip Podcast, or as Josh said, on YouTube. You can find the show on GSP 1428 on YouTube as well. You can find the audio feed that also on philipgmatthew.com and podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at pgmatthew28 and on Twitter, and then pgmgsp28 on Instagram and Blue Sky. And thanks to you, Josh, as always, for your insights and all the information, and glad we're able to do it here tonight. Not sure when episode 280 will come out, but that will be the next one. Might be after we do our draft, so that'll be interesting. Can talk about that, talk about everything that happened, kind of recap the IndyCar season too, I guess, in a sense, and amongst other things. But we'll see what happens with that. Formula One will be back at some point, if that's the case. So, but we'll get there when we get there. But first, of course, thank you to all the listeners. Thank you to all the followers and fans, and of course, Josh, for all your work you put in also on putting the show out on the YouTube page and with us with our socials and everything. We thank you for listening and subscribing. Like, comment, subscribe, of course, and we will see you next time for the Gripstrip Podcast around the corner. So we'll see you then. Take care.